I would now welcome Shireen Khalaf from Tamatem. She is the data analyst specialist based out of Jordan, and Kunal Sharma from MoEngage, who heads our sales for India and Middle East. Kunal, over to you. I need both of you guys to introduce yourself, what your company do, and of course, Shireen would take us through the PPT, followed by that. Yeah, thanks. Over to you, Kunal.
Cool. Thanks, Sandeep. Hi, everybody. Hope everyone's staying inside, keeping safe, wearing your mask, and following social distancing rules. I head sales for MoEngage for India, Middle East, and Africa part of the business. I've joined in the company very recently, as recent as December last year. And I've got about 13 years of experience in advertising technology. And I thought it was more of time for me to kind of move to the other side of the world, how retention marketing and analytics plays a big role in helping retain these customers that I've helped companies acquire in millions over the last 12 years, right? So just wanted to have a look and feel of what's it like to retain consumers and why is it so important to retain consumers. And I think we're doing a good job of providing enough technology, enough analytics and actionable data to our customers at MoEngage to help them take the necessary actions to drive the right plans for engaging their consumers, right? Here's a short presentation that I'd like to showcase to everyone. Let's just quickly take you through that. Right. So that's us. That's us at MoEngage. We're an intelligent customer engagement platform. And we say that we're an intelligent customer engagement platform that's built for the mobile-first world. Why a mobile-first world is because there's so many challenges which are very, very different for mobile and digital as an ecosystem as compared to all the CRM, CLM solutions that exist for retail as a business. The touch points on mobile are very different. The screen sizes are different. How you communicate with your consumer is very different. So yeah, truly a challenging way to reach out to your customer. When you work with us, our typical philosophy is, why don't you track all your consumers, their behavior, their involvement with your product with us, analyze how deep your consumers are going in with you, how much of engagement they are building in with you, where are they dropping off, and get to draw certain segments out of that. We even predict a consumer's behavior. We give you analysis as to who are your best consumers, your worst consumers, the consumers that's going to churn. We give you actionable, predictive insights into what's working and what's not working, so that you don't have to do all the heavy lifting, and we do all of that heavy lifting at our end. And once that's done, you engage with customers through all the channels that are listed here. So you can send push notifications, in-app messages, emails, SMS, connect to your Google, Facebook, Snapchat accounts, and reach out to these customers once again. Just some recognition for us from the industry. We've been rated as the #1 vendor in Gartner's Voice of Customer report, ahead of big leaders, the big daddies of the SaaS industry. And we're proud to say that we are actually the only Asian company to be part of that list. And it's a proud moment for us to be rated #1 in that list. Just some logos that we could fit into one slide. There are 550 plus clients that we work with across all the countries that we are present in. Just some logos that we could fit into this one single slide. So you will see that we cater to every industry, be it retail that has offline use cases, be it travel hospitality, where prices change in split seconds, telcos that work on tons of data, right? Media and entertainment, where you have tons of data, tons of catalog to be processed, tons of content to be processed. Financial services, which are very, very, which require a whole lot of data privacy, a lot of data security concerns. We answer to all of those concerns. And obviously, we also work with giants like Samsung, McAfee. So let's get to what are some of the problems that we try to solve for, right? Typically, that we see that clients face issues around onboarding, adoption, and retention, and yeah. What we see is that hundreds of consumers download our applications in the mobile ecosystem, and only a few remain at the end of 30 days or 60 days. Typically, a 60-day cohort in India for a retained consumer base would be about 16% for the largest Indian music application, which is a very small number. Now, if you have to retain only 16% of your audience on day 30 or day 60, you spent tons of money acquiring them, right? How can we make use of technology to make sure that most of your consumers retain the app or they go through deeper into your funnel, right? So we help you with driving signups. We help you with educating your consumers about products, discover more and more products in your applications, right? To try out new products that you're launching within your apps. We help you drive repeat purchases from consumers who have purchased once. We help push recommendations to customers based on whatever they've been consuming in your app. We retarget customers who have dropped off from the cart or who added products to the cart or to wish list, and to make that communication so effective that it reaches them at a time when it's best suited for them. And we power all of this using actionable analytics. So, this is just an example of some of the analytics that we can provide. Funnels is just a very simple way of looking at things, but we make it even more simple when we tell you that, hey, you can arrest all of this drop-off that you see in your funnels just from the dashboard itself. You don't need to download the data, dissect the data, and upload it again into a custom segment, right? We let you just click on the charts itself and use them to create custom segments and launch campaigns from there itself. Another great feature that we bring in is a cross-channel sort of a flow. Now you can create these flows with us and create an entire user journey. Make sure that everything is automated so that your marketing team's job is fairly simplified in retaining all of your customers. Right, so I can keep going on about what we do and how we do it. That's going to take a lot of time, but the main agenda of today's conversation is how did Tamatem use analytics to create an effect for itself to be the largest gaming publisher in the Middle East market. And we'd love to understand more of that from Shireen. She's here to talk to us about the different types of data analytics, etc., that they've used, the tools that they've used to have a big name for themselves in the market. Shireen, over to you. If you can just introduce yourself, your company, and let us know more about how you achieved your success.
Thank you, Kunal. I'm very excited to be here. Thank you for having me. So my name is Shireen Khalaf, and I'm a data analysis specialist at Tamatem. I've been working with the company for almost 2 years now. I've joined them right after I graduated, and I've been with them ever since. So Tamatem is a leading mobile games publisher in the MENA region. We partner with developers from all around the world. We take that app, we localize it, and we publish it in the region here. And localization that we do is not just in terms of text translation. We localize content, sometimes the storyline, graphics, art, UI, and just to make this whole game more relevant and, let's say, more culturally acceptable in the region here, so that users can relate to it more. And most of our operations are in-house, from localization to UI to marketing and user acquisition, data analysis, app store optimization, running our social media platforms, and support, Wales management. So all of those daily operations are in-house. And given the nature of what we do, the work that we do, the industry that we're in, it's very important for us to be data-driven in order to grow. So I'm very excited to be here today to share with you our journey towards becoming data-driven and how that impacted us as a business. And so if I could just share my screen. Sorry. Here we go. Okay, so the topic of today is how we leverage data analytics and into optimizing our revenue, hopefully. So let's start with our agenda for the session today. We will talk about how pushing for a data-driven culture has impacted our business at Tamatem. We'll go over the building steps towards becoming data-driven. I'll share with you a bit of what we focus on in terms of metrics and what contributed into boosting our monetization, and we'll end it with some key learnings and takeaways. So the impact of data-driven decisions. I believe, well, it is absolutely no secret that nowadays investing in data analytics and in tracking data is an important part of any business. But to actually use that data in hand and to base actionable decisions on might be the challenge in some cases. And even for us at Tamatem, it was challenging at first to kind of integrate that mindset towards becoming data-driven into that daily work culture. It, of course, took some time, but it was worth it, and it was a total game changer for us. Really is that moment where we stop basing decisions on certain gut feelings or on personal opinions from around the office. Was really the moment where we started to make better informed and impactful decisions. And that is really where we started to see a significant boost in our numbers, from our revenue to our retained users, and just let's just say our user engagement as a whole. And so investing in proper data analytics and in tracking really helped us understand our users more and our users' behavior and their needs. And by acting upon those needs and basing our decisions on what we found, it really had a huge impact. We were able to improve our retention, enhance our users' gameplay experience, bring in more personalization into that experience, boost monetization, of course, and it really opened doors for us to explore more on A/B testing. And by doing so, we were able to optimize on our work accordingly. And that is a very important point right there. So starting small is key. Right here, we've got our starting steps, let's say, towards moving in that direction of becoming data-driven. But I'd like to start off here with what I believe is one of the biggest challenges of a data analyst, and that is to really acquire that thorough and deep understanding of your users and their behavior, and to kind of translate that into users' needs or into pinpointing those troublesome moments within your app or certain opportunities within your app, and just to ultimately communicate that with different team members. So to do that, to really build that strong understanding of your users, we believe that the very first and most important step here is to know your game by heart, to really know everything about it, to whether it's the features that the game holds or the levels of the game, the store itself, what's there, and just to just really allow yourself to live that full user experience, because really that is what will bring you closer to better understanding and analyzing your users. I know you might think that by maybe just having a general understanding of your game along with all of the data and events in front of you is enough, but I've learned that the hard way. You will always miss that certain connection between the data and the game itself. And by just allowing yourself to live that experience, you'll start making those connections, and you will notice that you'll start analyzing and understanding your user behavior at a whole new level. So research is important, knowing your game is very important. And after that comes ensuring that we've set up our ongoing tracking sheets of just our main metrics and key in-game events. And of course, to ensure that everyone who needs that access, who needs the access to that data, has that easy access. And that somehow the data is centralized. So all of that information from all of those different sources is somehow in one place. And so by having that, say, general overview of our main metrics and main in-game key events, we can have a general idea of the performance of our app. And that is usually the point where we start to spot certain trends that are going there, or certain changes in our metrics or numbers. Those changes could be certain peaks or certain drops. And by really digging into the points where we thought we needed, it really, sorry, by really spotting those trends, and it really helps us to understand where our app stands in terms of its performance. So the focus of the metrics that you're tracking actually here depends on, let's say, it's different from company to company or from product to product. It usually mainly depends on the business model, let's say, that you're following. But at Tamatem, our main focus revolves around our user engagement, our user retention, user conversion, and revenue. So, as we said, since it's always important to start small and start simple, we started tracking the general metrics of, say, the gaming analytics, and those we refer to as health metrics. Examples of health metrics would include daily active users, pay rate, ARPU, retention rate, and so on. Of course, in addition to our health metrics, we've tracked our performance metrics. And performance metrics usually differ from one app to another. They usually revolve around the app itself, the features that the app holds, or the in-game events inside those apps. So an example would be certain quests that were completed that are important, or certain milestones that were reached, or we can say the user engagement with those certain features inside your game. And by tracking your health and performance metrics, you draft that good understanding of where your app stands in terms of its health and how your current features are working. And by just digging right there, it really allowed us to let's say, answer some important questions right here. And those examples of such questions would be, what features are working for my game? So is there maybe something that I need to shift my focus towards? What exactly is keeping my users engaged? But what might be ruining my users' experience? Could it be that my users are dropping out at a point where they need to wait? Is it my in-game waiting time maybe? So where do my users churn exactly? And usually by answering such questions, it will open you up to a bunch of different new questions. And that process itself is very important because that is usually what will bring you right down to those specific and direct questions. And those will help you make specific and direct decisions. And that is really what we're looking for here. So say my users are churning during early stages of the game. Is it my onboarding process? Is it my tutorial? Am I maybe missing some important game mechanics or some important pointers there? Or could it be that my users are missing that sense of early progression, that sense of early achievement, let's say? I'm sure we've all downloaded a game at some point, and if you feel that you're stuck during those early stages and it's so hard to level up, it will get frustrating and chances are you will drop out. So answering those specific questions will get you closer towards making specific decisions. And that brings us to a very important point right here, which is to always try to ask the right questions. Because nowadays, with the huge pools of data in hand from the millions of users that we have, the more direct and specific your question is, the more likely you are to find the right answer for that. You need to somehow limit that pool of data that you're digging into. And here, I believe, comes a very important role of a data analyst. which is to really try to build that strong communication between data and different departments. And yeah, because pushing for a data-driven culture usually starts and should start from the data department. By building that strong, say, relationship and connection with other departments, you kind of all hop on that same wave, and communication and results, let's say, operations would be easier. So it would be kind of you directing the team towards asking the right questions, because most of the questions that are usually asked are such general questions. And an example, let's say, would be a question could be, how do we improve retention? And that is such a general question that it's so hard to find a specific and right answer to. And really, so many questions would fall under that, such as, what is it in my game that my users like? What is most appealing to them? Could it be the social aspect of my game, or is it the competitive aspect of my game? And so, and also, where do my users churn? Where are those moments or those levels, and what's happening there? And so asking those specific questions will help you make specific decisions. Well, right now we've reached the point where it should all come together somehow. So we've got our tracking sheets, we've seen all of those trends, we've investigated all those peaks or drops, or the certain trends that we wanted to investigate. We've generated all those questions. We went through that process. We've did all the data digging that was necessary. We could have also set up some potential solutions or optimization strategies. And that is really the point where we've reached that everything should come together, and we start basing our decisions based on the insight that we've got from our data, based on what we found after digging. And really, most of the times, it's the small changes or the unexpected changes or decisions that have the biggest impact. So if we go a few slides back to our example where my users were churning during their early stages of the game, say I know that a certain subscription in my game drives really good user engagement. So what if I gave my users access to some of its perks, just for a limited time period, the moment they install the app? Just let them get that full taste of the experience. Maybe such a small move would drive better engagement during those early stages. Could also increase my conversion rates later on in the game. So who knows? Of course, we need to keep track of all of our changes, but really sometimes those very specific and small decisions and changes inside your game will really take your game to a whole new level. Of course, with time, the more data that's generated, the more trends that will appear, and you might start looking into new metrics to track, or into exploring new sides of your app. What's very important to keep in mind here is to always try to keep your mind focused, because chances are the more you're tracking, the greater the chance of losing focus. So try not to overwhelm yourself or the team with so many metrics. That never does anyone any good. So it's important to keep in mind here to always have set KPIs to focus on. And those KPIs usually differ from company to company, from product to product, and even from department to department within the same company. So the marketing department would focus on a set of KPIs different than the products, let's say. And so it's just important to just have that end goal where you could always go back to, and to keep track of your progress, just as a kind of reminder to where you're headed, to just stay focused on that. And keeping track could be, it depends on the department, let's say, or the product team, could be on a monthly or a weekly basis as you see fit, of course. So moving on to personalization, personally, my favorite part of the whole thing. Really, when we started to understand our users and understand their behavior inside the game and their needs, we were able to provide them with a more personalized experience. And that was whether through our in-game messages, where we've started sharing some messages and pointers or things to help guide them through the app, of course, based on what they've experienced, or through our in-game offers or promotions, where all of that became targeted based on the user's behavior, or through our push notifications, where we started connecting with our users and kind of tailoring our push notifications based on a certain experience that that user went through. And of course, with our retargeting strategies. So really, when we introduced personalization into that, we've seen some great results because, well, users would drop off for different reasons. Some users might have dropped out because of an empty in-game currency wallet, or a user might have lost certain times in a row, or maybe a certain subscription that they had has ended. So reaching out to your users with a relevant message here is really key. And that is actually the point where we started to introduce user segmentation and user targeting into our strategies. And the impact here was unreal. It really proves that we do not only have to treat our users in different apps differently, but we also have to treat our users within the same app differently. Always invest in proper user segmentation and proper targeting. So, A/B testing. In an earlier slide, I mentioned that digging into data and tracking data opened doors for us to explore more with our A/B testing. We were really able to continuously optimize on our work. We've actually invested heavily in A/B testing from both a marketing and a product side. Of course, with A/B testing, it's important to keep note first of the basics of it. So, of course, testing one element at a time and just giving your test some time to, say, generate enough data that makes you confident to base a decision on. And for us, from a marketing side, we've A/B tested with our creatives. So let's say the creative itself, the elements inside the creative, our caption, our button, our call to action, and just the whole thing. We A/B tested with audiences that we were targeting and with our ASO, so our app title, previews, and icons. And from a product side, it was more of with push notifications and with our in-game promotions. And we've reached the slide of boosting monetization. So boosting monetization was actually a result of everything that I've mentioned. It's a result of a combination of all of that together. Just by gaining the proper insight into your game's performance and your metrics and understanding your users' behavior and optimizing accordingly. So optimizing on their gameplay experience, by optimizing on your monetization strategies, investing in that proper user segmentation, proper targeting, it all just comes together, and the result was a boost in our revenue. Of course, it is also important to mention here about how it's important to stay focused. That was a huge part of it, to always look at your KPIs and remember them, and to be patient and persistent. It all takes time. It all needs a lot of testing, and yeah. So coming down to our key learnings and takeaways. So just some points that I thought we should go over again: to never treat any app the same, and more importantly, to never treat all users within the same app the same. To build that strong communication between the data team and other departments. To always do your research, know your game by heart, test, and test. Testing is key, and never overwhelm yourself with so many metrics to track. Thank you. Kanal, back to you.
Right. Sandeep, you're on mute if you're talking.
I'm so sorry. Thank you so much, Shirin, for your insights. Guys, feel free to ask question at the tab which you see on your screen down. It says Q&A. Put in your questions there for Shirin if you have any, and Kunal as well. Meanwhile, I'm posting one more polling questions. Do answer that as well. And yeah, cool. We'll see if we have any questions for Shirin or Kunal.
I think panelists and hosts should also be allowed to take participation in this.
Yeah. I'm sending it to you then.
I wanted to answer some of the questions.
Exclusive.
Not me.
Yeah.
I mean, do we have the results also coming out here, or
it's not public, but yes, we do have results.
not visible to everyone?
No.
Okay. All right. Guys, do we have any questions from the audience?
Yeah, that's what I have. I think we have got one. I think it goes for Shirin.
Yes.
Shirin, there's a question for you from Bharadwaj. What are some of the events you look at when segmenting data?
Oh, so that's a bit of a general question because it really depends on the situation or our objective here. In terms of segmentation, could be based on the user's activity in game, let's say user's engagement.
Right.
Yeah, or certain behavior with certain features inside my game. So it more or less depends on the final objective there,
Cool.
what we're trying to do.
Cool. Thanks. There's another one, another questions. What are some of the most vital metrics to look into while analyzing?
Yeah, so for us, the metrics that we kind of mainly focus on, let's say, are the health metrics of the app, because those kind of give you a general idea of where your app stands. But it is also important to keep in mind that even though your health metrics are all good to go, that does not necessarily mean that all features within your app or all aspects of your app are at their best. So that is where the performance metrics come in. So that gives us a chance to look at what features are actually doing well, what features are not doing well, where are my users engaging more. So it's kind of a combination of this whole thing.
Right.
So both are, yeah, I would say as important.
Kunal, you want to add something to it?
Not really, but I do have a question for Shireen.
Perfect.
And I'm interested to understand this from say a new gaming developer that's coming up, right? There are so many different types of games. I think there are some 5 or 7 genres of games that are there. Some that you play regularly, which become a bit of a habit, and some that you play only when you're bored, say like a Candy Crush, right? You're free, you play it, say for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, but strategy games are very involving. Now, why is it that some games are so involving the consumer, whereas some games have, you only want to play them for 15 minutes? Is there any analytics that goes into it, or is this purely by design?
I think a lot of factors would go into that because, of course, the design, as you said, and also maybe the type of people that are playing those games. But what we've seen is that every game is different in its own way. So even with games under the same genre, we've seen some very different numbers because, as I said, a lot of factors come in here, such as the game dynamic, let's say, or the audience of the game. So I'm not sure of a specific reason behind that. I think it just, it depends on the audience of the game and the game dynamic itself.
All right. Have you tried experimenting with, say, different channels and going across screens? So typically mobile gaming companies restrict their communication to push notifications or SMS, right? They tend to stick to one screen. Have you guys experimented taking another channel, say emails, for example, to reach out to customer, to re-engage with them? And what's been the impact of that?
Yes, actually we've used emails for our retargeting strategies, and it does not always bring in the best results, but we do sometimes get some good results. It all depends on the segment that we were targeting, but we have tried that, yes.
So the recency of the segment matters over here when you're targeting cross-screen?
I'm not very confident in saying that it's only the recency of the segment, because I mean, I myself could be one of those people. I have a set of different emails and you might just miss that email, you know. Everyone is so subscribed to a lot of things nowadays, but a lot of things take a big role here, which is, let's say, a catchy title maybe, or, you know, the type of, say, maybe the type of users that you're targeting. But yeah.
Right. Do we have any more questions from the audience here?
I don't see any more questions from the audience.
All right.
Cool.
Okay. Cool. So let's just wait another 5 minutes if people have more questions to ask.
Yeah.
Sharina, I mean, do you have any insights on any new games that are being launched or anything that's being done differently in your part of the world to engage with customers? Any new practice that you've developed?
Well, at Tamatem, we have a set of different genres that we've already published, from card games to RPG games, and so, but we've recently went into different genres and we're hoping to release soon. We've got one match 3 game, and that is a new genre for us, a role-playing game, which is more targeted towards a female audience. That's also something new that we're going into. Most of our games are targeted towards male audience. And a builder / RPG game that we're also going to experiment with. So we're excited to try out those new genres and to test on new audiences.
Okay. And as a business, are you looking at expanding into other markets too?
Yes, actually, with one of our recent games, which is the match 3 game, we're planning to launch it into different markets and kind of also localize it for those different markets in Asia. So not only in the Arab region here, but also there. So we're very excited.
And do you think that localization kind of brings in a different flavor and creates more impact with the audience?
Yes, definitely. I think the user would feel more connected to the game. It's in their mother tongue language. And as I said, we do not only localize the text, but the whole experience and the content. And there are great opportunities in the market, with a lot of people speaking Arabic being the 4th spoken language in the world. So there are not a lot of games in Arabic. And so that is where our opportunity comes in, yeah.
There's one more question, guys. Somebody has asked, with COVID, people have more time on devices. Any strategies to engage as we move towards normalcy?
Yeah, with the days of COVID-19, we've seen a great boost in user engagement. That's correct. But recently, when things are slowing down and restrictions are getting a bit looser, we've seen a slight drop in that engagement. But we've somehow maintained the way it's going. We're we're working on a lot of things in-game to try to engage our users, such as tournaments or so. So that is what we're trying to focus on right now, to keep that good engagement.
By the way, so tournaments is a key to a lot of games. I think it's a strategy that a lot of games use to engage with their customers on a frequent basis. Should tournaments be time specific, short term, or should they be more longer in the duration? What's worked for you?
I think that really depends on the game itself and the audience that's there. So a cards game would be sort of different than other genres. So there's no specific answer for that. It depends on the game.
Okay. And we have a question from Hesham. Can analytics pre-development of the game as analysis of the consumer of games and what sells?
I'm sorry, I do not fully get the question.
In analytics pre-development. Hesham, if you can please rephrase your question. Okay, so he's asked analytics on the market before you develop the game. So I think what he's trying to ask is, have you used analytics to get some answers?
Yeah, so before bringing in a game to the region, we've got a team, a business development team that we have that really goes into a certain process before picking that game. We look into the metrics of the original game. Some metrics would really matter. And we do some sort of testing in the region to make sure that this game fits the region. So yeah, so we do look at certain metrics, and before publishing here, we do have some sort of an expectation of what numbers we're gonna get. We put those expectations based on the original game, based on certain benchmarks from the market, and we test it out during soft launch.
All right. Hisham, I think I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much done here. Yeah. Ooh,
yeah.
Thank you so much, Shirin. Thanks so much for joining us. Thanks, Kunal.
Thanks
to all of you guys. Thank you so much for joining us, and do follow us, Tamatem, for upcoming webinars, events on our LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter page.
Great.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Have a good day. Bye.